blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Hey, good morning, friends and neighbors. What do you say? It is Monday, last day of March 31, 2014. Forget the NCAA. This is the opening day for Major League Baseball. Yes, indeed. Well, you can't forget the NCAA because now we know the Final Four. Connecticut and Florida and Kentucky and Wisconsin. And I am totally out of the March Madness brackets. Yeah. That's what happens when you go away for 10 days. And by the way, I was away for 10 days, and what's going on? You still haven't found that missing flight, Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. As we know, there's a new search area. New debris has been spotted, but so far, nobody can connect any of that debris to the missing plane. You know what? Those theories about being abducted by a UFO are starting to sound more and more plausible. You also didn't fix the Crimea. Putin still in Russia gobbled up Crimea. But one development in a surprise move, Vladimir Putin made a phone call to President Obama and said, maybe we ought to talk this over. John Kerry jetted off to Paris, where he has met with the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, and they are still looking for a diplomatic solution to that whole crisis to ease the tension in the Middle East. Meanwhile, lots more going on. President Obama is back in town after that whirlwind tour of Europe, which took him from the Netherlands to an historic meeting with Pope Francis in Rome to a meeting with the King of Saudi Arabia. Back here with meetings at the White House today. We'll talk all about it, of course, here on Free Speech TV, where you can reach us on your satellite dish, DirecTV, and on TawkrTV, our video stream worldwide, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And don't forget, you can join the conversation anytime by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold. From the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
And 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power,
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am
I am
tired,
tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
is Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
Is the Bill Press Show.
Opening day for baseball 2014. Hey, forget about March Madness. I'm out of the brackets anyway. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? Good to see you, and I am back. Yes, indeed. Back from a great vacation in Hawaii. That's part of the United States, by the way. Just want to remind you, all you birthers out there, when you're in Hawaii, you're still in the United States of America. Even in Honolulu, you're still in the United States, which is about as remote as you can get in Hawaii. But it's good to be back, and it's good to see you all. I brought a little scratchy voice back with me. Sorry about that, but thank you for joining us this Monday morning, March 31. Coming to you live, as always, from our nation's capital, our studio here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and booming out to you on your local progressive talk radio station. Booming out to you on Free Speech TV and worldwide on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKRTV, of course. Welcome back to me, and a big thank you to our team here, Peter Ogburton and Lisa Murphy. Hello, guys.
Welcome back.
Yeah, good to see you.
Alicia
Nice
Cruz
tan.
here as well, covering the phones, and yeah, but most of my tan's covered up by my makeup.
That's right. You have to make sure you look good, you know.
And Cyprian Bolding here, our videographer, keeping us looking good on that video stream. And a special thank you to Peter and to Evan McMorris-Santoro and to Clinton Yates and to, thank you, Sabrina Siddiqui for filling in. And I think they did a great job. I didn't hear one word of it, but
I was gonna say, thank you very much. But yeah.
There's a 6-hour time difference between here and Hawaii. That means I don't think we have a lot of people up that early in Hawaii. But
Yeah.
at any rate, But I heard good things about everybody, and it was nice to know we got a good backup team here.
It was a fun week. That being said, all of us are glad to have you back.
Well, thank you.
Very happy to see you.
And I got to say, if you really ever want to just get it amazes me to go to a place like Hawaii, and particularly to go to Kauai, which is the smaller island, the Garden Island, the most beautiful spot on the planet. I think one of the most beautiful spots on the planet, to be fair. And the little town of Hanalei, which is such a great hippie town. Do you think anybody there, let me tell you, they don't give a rat's ass about it. We are so tied in here in Washington. We never disconnect in Washington, right?
Right.
You need to know. If you don't know, if you go an hour without knowing the latest news, you feel you are lost, right?
Yeah.
In Hawaii? Aloha.
Yeah, see you later.
Yeah.
Mahalo.
They don't talk politics. They're not watching CNN. They're not watching Fox. They're not watching MSNBC. They're at the beach. They're surfing. I never saw a newspaper for sale. The entire time I was in Honolulu. I never saw a television that didn't have sports on it. Weren't that many. But if I went to a bar or restaurant, there was only sports. I never saw any of the talking heads that you see here in Washington that we live on. You feel, God, if we don't know what Bill O'Reilly said today, we're lost forever. Right. I mean, yeah, it's just, and I never saw a movie theater in that whole in the north shore of Hawaii, of Kauai. There is not a movie theater.
That way of life is so foreign.
Yeah,
and yet it kind of sounds great. It sounds kind of great.
Now,
like if you're going to go on vacation,
get away from it.
Go on vacation.
Get away from it.
That's
now,
good.
they do
like
have Wi-Fi. They do have the internet, so you can keep up that way,
Sure.
which I kind of did. Okay. Now, here to me is a sign of a different, totally different outlook on life, okay? So, Kauai, again, beautiful island. We love the North Shore, which is where Hanalei is, where we usually stay. So you get to Princeville, which is a resort, and from about 45 minutes north of the airport. Now, between Princeville to Hanalei, that's 2 miles, rather. But to get there, you have to go across a one-lane bridge. Okay, tour buses can't get over that bridge.
Okay.
So there are no tours, no tours, not big, huge mobs of tourists north of there, which means it is heaven. Okay, and to get across that one-lane bridge, traffic can go only in one direction.
Yeah.
Okay. After that,
which, by the way, I love. It's 2014, and there's still one-lane bridges.
No,
that's
but
cool.
Beyond that, to get from Honolulu to the Nepali coast, which is maybe another 10 miles, there are at least 6 more one-lane bridges. Now, how do you deal with these one-lane bridges? You know what it is? People are very courteous. They stop. So if you're coming in one direction, there's a little sign at the first bridge that says the local courtesy is 5 to 7 cars. So you're coming and you see you're like the 10th, 8th car or something, then you stop. And you let your cars in your direction, and then you let the other people come
flow
through.
From the other way.
And those 7 of them will come through or whatever, and then you go, and the car's behind you. And that has been going on forever and ever. No traffic lights, no cops, no road rage. People just stop and let traffic come from the other direction. Can you imagine that in this country?
That's lovely.
Can you imagine that in this country?
Well, I mean, Hawaii is this country.
Well, okay.
However, but I do pick up what you're saying.
Sorry.
Here on the mainland.
Thank you for that. Can you imagine that on the mainland?
Yeah. No, not at all. Not at all.
In the D.C. area?
In New York?
Fights, fist fights,
at the minimum,
shouting matches.
At the minimum, you would have stoplights.
Yeah.
You would have controlled traffic lights.
That's mind-blowing.
And most likely you would have armed guards. Seriously, right? And every time I went to one of those little bridges, I just felt like so good.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get that.
And then I would stop, and then when I went across the bridge, I would wave to the first guy. To the first guy in the other way, I'd say, thank you.
Perfect Hawaii harmony.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It really is incredible.
So,
I mean, seriously, try that here in Washington, D.C. sometime. See how that works out for you. We can't even get a 4-way stop right.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So I just want to, I'm back from another planet. Yes, indeed. All right, good. With lots to talk about today, indeed, starting out with voter attempts to suppress the vote that's happening in state after state after state. I think it is downright un-American. Also, we'll be joined by, of course, reporters from usually good friends from the normal sources, Politico and the Hotline and Huffington Post, all coming up. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. March Madness, Bill, rolls on. We have the Final Four. It will be the Florida Gators taking on the Connecticut Huskies, UConn, and the Wisconsin Badgers taking on the Kentucky Wildcats. A Final Four that very few people saw coming. UConn is a 7 seed. Kentucky is an 8 seed. However, Kentucky stunned the Louisville Cardinals over the weekend, Bill. I know you had Louisville winning it all. Those games resume April 5th, so next weekend, more basketball coming.
I know I'm out of it now, but I think this is unfair because I was away and I didn't have a chance to change my calls.
Oh, you get to change?
Yeah, I get to change depending on how things are going.
It should be noted that my little experiment of the bracketology is going very, very well. Everybody from Team Press has now been eliminated except for
Magnus?
Magnus Ogburn, age 6, who has Florida winning it all.
Magnus rules. I think next year Barack Obama should talk to Magnus.
And Magnus picked Florida because that's where Disney World is.
Logic.
He's right.
I had to think Florida's going all the way, but
well, I mean, they're in the Final Four. They're number 1 seed.
Okay.
We'll see. Over the weekend, Saturday, actually, was the Earth Hour. It's the annual Earth Hour. It's been going on for 8 years. And we're asking that we turn off the lights at 8:30 p.m. local time, wherever you are at 8:30 p.m. Among some of the most famous landmarks that shut their lights down over the weekend, the Empire State Building, the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, the Eiffel Tower in Paris, the Kremlin and the Red Square in Moscow, all shut off their lights for an hour starting at 8:30 on Saturday. There's some great pictures out there online.
And the Strip in Vegas.
Yeah, there were a lot of very, very cool, interesting pictures coming out of places that dimmed their lights for Earth Hour. And shout out to this 12-year-old girl from Las Cruces, New Mexico. She won the smelliest sneaker award.
Oh, no.
Put on by Odor Eaters. She is 12 years old. Her name is Alex Berner, and they have this contest to see who has the nastiest, most worn-out, stinkiest shoes in America. She's showed up to New York where they had this. It was done by Odor Eaters. Her shoes were wrapped in duct tape, filthy dirty, and she was proclaimed to have the smelliest shoes in America. She says she wore them everywhere for 2 years. She says that they're on her feet when she's in school. She keeps them on when she plays sports. Sometimes she even wears them to bed without socks. That's how she got to have such sneaky sneakers.
How'd you like to be known for that for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I got to tell you, one of the, I think, craziest and scariest things going on these days is the attempts in state after state after state to suppress the vote and to make it more and more difficult for people to vote. Now, the way I see it, if you're an elected official, I don't care whether you're mayor, you're dog catcher, you're a member of Congress, right? Everybody, him or her, elected to a public office, they're concerned about what their legacy is. How am I going to be remembered? Now, here's what I don't understand. Who wants to be remembered? Like this girl with the stinky sneakers, right?
Yeah.
Who wants to be remembered as I made it more difficult for people to vote? And yet that's what's going on today. Again, in state after state, red states, Republican governors, Republican legislators, looking for ways to make it harder for people to exercise the one right that I think is the most cherished right of all of us. You know, we all can't run for office. We all can't write big checks. We all can't even get out and walk precincts. But everybody can vote. And that's how we exercise our responsibility as citizens. That's how we decide what kind of a city we want to be, what kind of a state we want to be, what kind of a country we want to be, right? By voting. And historically in this country, we started out making it very difficult for people to vote. Shame on us. In the Constitution, only white males who owned property could vote. And we finally got away from that, and extended the vote to women, extended the vote to blacks, extended the vote to younger people. But still, we put a lot of obstacles in the way, like the infamous poll tax. And then maybe in the last 10 or 12 years, measures started to be introduced and adopted in states to expand the electorate, to make it easier for people to get in and to vote. And you know what I mean, starting with early voting, letting people vote by absentee ballot, even if they didn't have a serious illness, allowing voting on weekends, not just on weekdays. In some states, people can vote entirely by mail, particularly like the state of Oregon. Or letting teenagers who are going to be 18 in November pre-register to vote when they're still 17 before they get out of high school. Or letting people show up at the polling place and vote and register and vote that same day. All kinds of ways of expanding the electorate. Now, what's happening in these red states is, in state after state, in North Carolina, in Ohio, in Wisconsin, in Kansas, in Arizona, Republican legislators are turning back the clock on those measures. For example, North Carolina may be one of the worst, right? They've really shortened, if not done away with, early voting. In Ohio, they just took a week out of the early voting. In Ohio, they banned any voting on weekends. Why? I mean, why do we have to vote on Tuesday when most people are at work? It's this constant attempts in Ohio. They cut a week out of early voting, and of course in North Carolina, the protest over the restrictions that were put on voting in North Carolina, including having to have a driver's license to vote, prompted this whole new movement called Moral Mondays down in North Carolina, which is spreading around the country now. So I don't get it. And it seems to me that this is particularly happening at the state level. Congress is doing nothing about it. They either look the other way or they encourage this kind of stuff. And as a result, we're left in this country where I think it's a disgrace. 60% of Americans, at the most, it's the highest it ever gets in a presidential election. It was 62%. With all the excitement about Barack Obama, 62% in 2008 only of Americans only voted in that presidential election. In midterms this year, they'll be ecstatic if they can get 40%. And you look at other countries, Belgium, 90%. And in some countries, it's compulsory to vote. So I love your take on this, 866-55-PRESS. What is it? Why don't you think this is something that Republicans and Democrats could all agree on? I want to put forth a very simple premise, that the more people who vote, the better we are as a country. The better it is for America, the more people that vote. So shouldn't our goal be to make it easier, less complicated, to encourage people to vote, rather than trying to find ways to discourage them from coming to the polls? 866-55-PRESS. Isn't that something that all Republicans and Democrats could agree on, that all of us can agree on? Let's talk about it here this Monday morning on The Bill Press Show. Good to be back with you. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Of vacancies. This started in 2005, 2006 when mortgages went bust. So can you talk about like what you've seen in your experience over now we're like 8 years out?
And we're still seeing dilapidated buildings or boarded up buildings. A lot of this property can be utilized for something instead of just sitting vacant, and an eyesore and a real safety hazard to the community. Yes.
Do you ever hear, do you talk with is it your son or your daughter?
My son.
Do you talk with them about the properties and like to stay away?
Yeah, I talk to him about the properties and don't be going trespassing nowhere, keep going to school, doing what he have to do, yeah.
You talk to some of the students, some of the youth, they'll tell you that they don't feel too safe. They're familiar with maybe this side of Morgan, these blocks over here, and not too familiar or comfortable with the blocks on the other side.
So Morgan is a dividing line?
More so because I wouldn't say so much the dividing line, but it's just the different blocks.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour, talking about attempts in state after state after state to suppress the vote. That's what it's all about. Republicans claim they've got to do that because there's so much voter fraud, which is nonsense. There's almost zero voter fraud around this country today. They can't come up with the evidence of that. But, I mentioned Belgium, and maybe I didn't make the point. Belgium, which is 95%. Think about Belgium and about Australia. Compulsory voting. You have to vote. You're a citizen. You have to vote. As far as I'm concerned, and you may think this is going too far, I'd love to see that in this country. Two things. Compulsory voting. You're a citizen. You got to vote, or you lose your right to vote. And online voting. We've got the technology to do it. Come on. You can use your credit card and buy whatever. We can have a foolproof voting system online. Why not? Ike calling from Charleston, South Carolina. Hello, Ike. Good morning.
I agree 100%. And by the way, maybe later you could break out your grass skirt and demonstrate your hula dancing. I'm sure you were practicing.
What happens in Honolulu stays in Honolulu.
Including the Kona Gold and the Maui.
Oh, yes.
Listen, no, hey, one other thing too is, they've got so many laws on the books now, they can turn anybody into a felon. And I just don't understand why it is that they have to take it out on people to where they lose their right to vote. I mean, that's just a throwback to Jim Crow laws, and they've continued to use that. And they have also restricted IDs to the point that even college kids can't vote.
Yep.
You know, if they want us to participate, we'd love to participate, make it easier, not harder. But you know what? The people
Amen.
really run it.
Amen. Amen, Ike. I agree with everything you said. Thanks for the call.
This is the Bill Press Show.
California, or the Golden State, has been in the midst of a 3-year drought, and this year, some scientists predict could be the driest in 500 years. Governor Jerry Brown declared a state of emergency in January and in February of this year. The world's 10th largest economy, California is also the United States' top agricultural producer. Half of all our fruits and vegetables come from California. The Golden State is not the only place on the planet struggling for this vital resource. In December 2013, the World Resources Institute found that 37 countries face severe water shortages. Free Speech TV would love to know what you think about this fight for water, especially if you're from the Golden State. Please call our comment line at 1-888-378-8855 or email us at comments@freespeech.org to let us know your thoughts.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
we go, 33 minutes after the hour now here, the Bill Press Show this Monday morning, March 31. Coming to you live from our nation's capital, brought to you today by the Laborers International Union of North America, the good men and women of the Laborers Union under President Terry O'Sullivan. Building a Better America, that's a website, LIUNA, L-I-U-N-A, LIUNAbuildsamerica.org. Check it out. We're talking about attempts across this country in state after red state after red state after red state to suppress the vote, make it more difficult for people to vote, where I think the common goal of Republicans and Democrats, I guess I'm just old-fashioned. I don't see this as a political issue. I think the common goal should be, how can we make sure that all citizens are encouraged to have the opportunity to participate in the democratic process, which we do by voting. Look, there are a lot of reasons why people, we could talk about that, why people don't vote. I mean, bad weather, for one. Some people just stay home if it's raining or snowing. And some people are just disenchanted with the whole process. They don't think it makes any difference who wins or who loses. And you can't do much about that, but there's certainly things we can control. Why the hell do we only vote on Tuesdays? Like for presidential election. That's insane. I mean, why Tuesdays of all days, right? Why not Sunday when more people have time to get out and vote? Or why not an extended period of time? Why, and we're one of the only countries that require this, why do we require in most states still that people register and have to register before they can vote and have to register at least a month before the polls open, or else they're ineligible to vote? We keep putting roadblocks in the way of, again, our fundamental right as citizens of this country, to exercise our right to vote. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. And again, why don't we move to either all mail ballot votes, or at least give everybody that opportunity, or online voting? I mean, I just can't believe that nobody's talking about online voting today. Or compulsory voting. I have long said, I remember debating this when I first started on radio and television in Los Angeles. You either vote or you lose your right to vote. Compulsory voting. John is up in High Bridge, New Jersey. Hello, John.
Hello, Bill.
Yeah, what's up? What do you think?
Well, obviously everyone knows that lower voter turnout is better for Republicans.
Yep.
They will give you this argument that, requiring an ID is perfectly reasonable. You need an ID to fly, an ID to drive a car, etc. But demographically, it affects the poor in urban areas who normally don't drive and don't fly. And for them to get a passport or a driver's license requires them to pay for it.
Right.
The poll tax.
Yep.
So
no, good point.
What they're trying to do.
Yeah, and John, in some places they're even requiring, they're talking about requiring a birth certificate. I mean,
right.
Seriously.
It's clearly a Republican attack to drive down voter turnout because it's in their best advantage, and the founder of ALEC stated so clearly.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And if they say maybe, if they make the argument, well, we have to do it because there's so much fraud, which there's not, or because we have to have uniformity, that's their latest argument. It's all nonsense, all total BS. I really think this should be a priority for all political activists. And I repeat myself, I know, but I think it's something where leaders of both parties ought to agree, come together and say, how can we make sure that we get that voting, the record of voting in this country up from 60% to 70 to 80 to 90% vote, and encourage people and make it easier for people to participate in the process. By the way, just apropos of nothing, and I want to move on to a related topic. But I want you to know I finally am catching up with some of you. It took 16 hours to get to Hanalei, to get to the airport in Kauai, even farther to get to Hanalei. So I had a lot of time on planes the last 10 days, and I downloaded the first season of Breaking Bad.
Okay, I'm dying to hear what you think of this.
I loved it. And I watched 5 out of 7 episodes, I think.
It sucks you in.
Yeah.
And here's the thing.
I mean, Bryan Cranston is so good.
He's amazing. He is amazing in that. Here's the thing that I need to tell you about that.
So I want to finish season 1, and then I'm going to move on to season 2. But the other thing is, Like, it's not exactly binge watching, but because I didn't watch it like nonstop. But that's the only way to watch television these days.
These days.
Yeah, especially with no commercials.
Absolutely.
And you can't, there's no way I could say 8 o'clock every Tuesday night, I'm going to be in front of the door. With my
No, that's how I watched Breaking Bad. Is I didn't watch it like the first 3 seasons, and then I caught up and watched and binged on it, and then I finally binged enough to where I watched the series finale live. But here's the thing about that show. It's great now, and you rarely ever see a show that gets so much better as it goes along, and it gets so much better.
Yeah,
I'm so excited you're watching it.
Yeah, I loved it. And as I mentioned, I saw Bryan Cranston on Broadway in the new play about LBJ All the Way, and he's phenomenal. Actually, just wanted to mention that. But a related thing about some people are so disenchanted with politics, disgusted with politics that they don't bother to vote, which is the wrong conclusion to come to. But if you really want to see what's wrong with politics today, I don't know whether you caught anything about this horrible clown show, a disgusting clown show in Las Vegas over the weekend. There's something called the Republican Jewish Coalition, which sort of is an oxymoron, I think, in itself. But several of the leading Republican candidates for 2016 came out to Las Vegas to this event over the weekend, which is nothing other. The person who started this and who's the principal funder of this Republican Jewish Coalition is Sheldon Adelson. Remember, he's the moneybags behind Newt Gingrich the last time around. He is, and these Republicans came, he and his wife, by the way, spent $93 million of their own money in the last cycle, 2012, for Republican candidates. $93 million. So they all showed up. John Kasich, Scott Walker, Chris Christie, even John Bolton, former ambassador to the UN, showed up to kiss Sheldon Adelson's, all right, I'll be polite, to kiss his ring, and just to babble on all the stuff that they knew he wanted to hear. It was disgusting. It really was. There were no pretenses. I mean, is this guy? Why do you think they went to Las Vegas? Do you think they went there because they really care about Israel? No. Do you think they went there because Sheldon Adelson is an outstanding role model for the American businessman? No. He owns casinos. I mean, he makes all of his money on gambling in Vegas and on Macau, where he's like the biggest kingpin in Macau. And we've heard all the stories about the corruption in Macau. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, or do you think they go because he's such an astute political figure? No. He supported Newt Gingrich the last time around. Jesus. I mean, this guy's an idiot. But he's got a lot of money, and he spends a lot of money, and he gives away a lot of money, and he loves the fact when people come and prostrate themselves before him for the almighty buck. And there they were. Chris Christie, who's now that, and I know you talked about this while I was gone. This is a classic political thing, right? He's in trouble, so he appoints his own commission to investigate his own crimes or his own misdeeds.
It's perfect.
I don't want to say crimes, his own misdeeds. And of course, his own commission exonerates him, and now he says, "Oh, I'm a new man." And he gives this, so this is his new thing. I have to learn from this not to trust my staff.
It's about me being a lot more questioning about things that are going on, not to just trust based upon long-term relationships or past performance.
Yes, and one more time, he threw his former deputy chief of staff, Bridget Ann Kelly, under the bus, saying that she had, even saying in this report even says that she was the one who started it. She's the one who's responsible, and you can't trust her judgment because he was having an affair with Christie's campaign manager at the time. So therefore, I mean, just talk about a personal attack and a sexist attack. But Chris Christie again blames it all on the staff, saying, how hurt I was that my staff let me down.
It is always confidence shaking and disappointing when people that you trust let you down. And what you realize as the leader of that organization is that you're ultimately responsible for that, no matter how it happens.
I got to tell you, we haven't seen the evidence yet. There are more reports, by the way, to come out. Remember, the Department of Justice is looking into this. So is the New Jersey legislature looking into this. I think there's one other investigation, but we haven't seen the final word yet on Bridgegate, and I still find it impossible to believe that Chris Christie, who was Mr. Fix-It, who was Mr. I'm in charge, knew nothing at all about these bridge closures and why it happened until months and months after the fact. But that's the line that he keeps putting out there. You know what? I got to tell you, I think he better watch out for this Bridget Ann Kelly.
Yeah.
You know?
Her lawyer came out and was not happy with some of the things he had to say.
Yeah. We have not heard from her yet. She has not spoken a word. She hasn't testified. She said she'd plead the fifth. But boy, when she comes out, that could be the end of Chris Christie. When we come back, we'll check in, as we all do every Monday, with the Hotline, Scott Bland, senior analyst at the Hotline, on what's going on at the White House this week and what's going on here in Washington, D.C., in the Congress as well. Stay with us on the Bill Press Show this Monday morning, March 31.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the area.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Monday morning, 12 minutes before the top of the hour, the Bill Press Show. Good to be back with you. And trying to catch up this morning to find out what the hell happened while I was gone. Now, let's see. Before I left 10 days ago, they couldn't find the missing Malaysian Airlines plane, and they're trying to push Vladimir Putin out of Crimea. Gee, doesn't look like much progress on either one of those fronts.
Yeah.
Let's find out if anything else was accomplished. Scott Bland is the senior analyst for the national journal Hotline, joining us on our news line this morning. Hey, Scott, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I thought for sure you'd have Crimea and the Malaysian airline flight 370 all resolved by the time I get back in town here. What's going on?
I got stuck in the office.
Yeah. Taking a look overall at, we got lots to talk about, but President Obama's trip, it was a marathon sprint across Europe. What was accomplished last week? What do you think the highlights were? Anything?
Well, I think it'll take some time, but the speech he gave about Russia and Crimea really seemed quite interesting as he was giving it, and I think that'll take a little time to sort itself out. But basically he was kind of asserting the. He was asserting his view on what's going on over there as forcefully as we've seen him do it in public. Obviously, as we know, there have been a lot of phone calls behind the scenes and everything. But seeing what kind of effect that has going forward will be very interesting. And again, it's a little difficult to fathom what exactly you can do when in this sort of situation if Russia is intent on taking territory and stuff like that, because I don't think anyone wants to get in a shooting war with them. But it was very interesting to see him in public asserting his case so forcefully. Right, and of course Putin following up with that phone call, and now this latest meeting between Kerry and Foreign Minister Lavrov in Paris. And today, Scott, is the deadline for Obamacare, March 31. Where are we, and what's it mean going forward? Well, surprise, surprise, there was a big surge in late applications, which that's I think it was sort of expected. I think we're around we were over 6 million last week. I think we're getting close to 7 million sign-ups as we're entering the final day. Now the real question, I guess, for us at the hotline now is what happens politically over the next few months with how this is perceived. I think at this point, opinions of the healthcare law are pretty baked in, and it'll be, or at least they seem that way. It'll be interesting to see, depending on what happens with these new plans, depending on how many people who have joined the new exchanges are getting brand new coverage, had been uninsured before, as opposed to have switched from something else. It'll be interesting to see what effects they have and whether or not, as they start to accrue benefits from the law, whether certain groups end up in polling viewing it more favorably than they have in the past. Because despite the little up and downs here and there, opinions of the law have really been baked in for a long time.
Yeah, and Republicans, of course, are counting on Obamacare as their number one big issue, or dissatisfaction with Obamacare as their number one big issue here in 2014. And I know, Scott, you've got a piece coming out today on looking at 2014 and these important elections, particularly for the House and the Senate, as to whether or not the Chamber of Commerce, which basically supports only Republican candidates, might actually end up endorsing or helping a couple of Democrats. Tell us about it.
Yeah, actually, it's really interesting. Speaking of healthcare, if you look back to 2008, the Chamber of Commerce endorsed 4 Senate Democrats. They endorsed Mark Pryor, Mark Warner, Mary Landrieu, and Max Baucus. And in particular, the Landrieu campaign was very interesting because Landrieu was very vulnerable, and they ran an ad. Chamber of Commerce ran an ad for Mary Landrieu praising her on health care. It included lines like, she's working to keep healthcare between doctors and patients, not the government. Stuff that's become pretty typical attacks against Democrats in the age of the Affordable Care Act. And speaking of that, since that bill became law in 2010, the chamber has only endorsed one Democrat, Joe Manchin of West Virginia, for the Senate. And they've endorsed a few House Democrats here and there, and a lot of the House Democrats they endorsed in 2010 actually lost in the wave that year. But now with the Senate majority hanging in the balance, and along with the fate of former endorsees like Mary Landrieu, it's going to be very interesting to see what the Chamber of Commerce does this year in terms of whether or not they go back to maybe endorsing a Democrat or two in the Senate.
Have they yet endorsed any Democratic senators up for re-election?
They have not. Their endorsement process takes place a little bit later. They just released their vote scores for 2013, and so they're processing those a little bit. But most of the endorsements they've made so far have been for Republicans fighting in primary battles right now, like Mitch McConnell.
Right. Well, keep your eye on those for us, okay? And we'll talk about those, and we'll see what develops. Very, very interesting political reality there with the Chamber of Commerce, which has a lot of money and a lot of clout. Hey, Scott, always good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us this Monday morning.
Thank you.
Scott Bland at the National Journal, nationaljournal.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
For more than 18 months, the members of AFSCME 3299 have been working to secure a new contract with the University of California. With workplace injuries at UC skyrocketing and government fines related to safety deficiencies at UC hospitals skyrocketing, Local 3299's top priority has been safe staffing at the workplace.
We've been short of people for the last 5 years. They're stretching us thin, which the students are suffering, the faculty suffering, and the patients are suffering.
While UC administrators have granted these standards to other UC workers, they have refused to make similar accommodations for AFSCME represented workers who perform the most physically demanding labor at UC.
It takes a whole team to take care of the patient. It's not just the RN and it's not just the doctor. The nurses were able to win a great contract, and AFSCME workers, the patient care workers and service workers, they're part of the team and they deserve that same fair contract too.
We take pride into working for the university, and we feel like the university doesn't value the work that we do.
But the second-class treatment of AFSCME workers doesn't end at safety and staffing. On wages, benefits, and other issues, UC refuses to offer AFSCME 3299 members the same respect they afford their other workers.
I have 3 jobs because what the university pays me is just not enough to make a living for my family and myself.
99% of service workers in the UC system make so little money that they're eligible for at least some form of public assistance. At the same time, the number of executives in the UC system that have crossed over into making at least $250,000 a year has more than doubled since 2008.
The University of California has long been a beacon of hope and progress for those struggling for dignity and fairness. With such a proud history, it is disturbing to see the leadership of the university treat its lowest paid workers like second-class citizens.
All workers at the university deserve equal treatment.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Josh Gerstein from Politico at the top of the next hour. Peter Ogburn.
Breaking news. Breaking
I love
news.
it.
Just moments ago, the International Court of Justice ruled that Japan can no longer continue its annual whale hunt.
Good for them.
You've seen these stories year after year. They have this whale hunt where they sort of corner these whales into a cove and then kill them. Japan was arguing that it was for scientific purposes. The International Court of Justice ruled against them, and that will end as of today. That's from CNN this morning.
That's great news and a huge victory. And it makes me happy that I saw so many of those magnificent humpback whales off the coast of Kauai.
There you go.
Glorious, glorious creatures. Now there'll be more of them survive after this decision.
This is the Bill Press Show.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Hey, good morning, friends and neighbors. What do you say? It is Monday, last day of March, March 31, 2014. Forget the NCAA. This is the opening day for Major League Baseball. Yes, indeed. Well, you can't forget the NCAA because now we know the Final Four. Connecticut and Florida and Kentucky and Wisconsin. And I am totally out of the March Madness brackets. Yeah. That's what happens when you go away for 10 days. And by the way, I was away for 10 days, and what's going on? You still haven't found that missing flight, Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. As we know, there's a new search area. New debris has been spotted, but so far, nobody can connect any of that debris to the missing plane. You know what? Those theories about being abducted by a UFO are starting to sound more and more plausible. You also didn't fix the Crimea. Putin still in Russia swallowed up, gobbled up Crimea. But one development in a surprise move, Vladimir Putin made a phone call to President Obama and said, maybe we ought to talk this over. John Kerry jetted off to Paris, where he has met with the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, and they are still looking for a diplomatic solution to that whole crisis to ease the tension in the Middle East. Meanwhile, lots more going on. President Obama is back in town after that whirlwind tour of Europe, which took him from the Netherlands to an historic meeting with Pope Francis in Rome to a meeting with the King of Saudi Arabia. Back here with meetings at the White House today. We'll talk all about it, of course, here on Free Speech TV, where you can reach us on your satellite dish, DirecTV, and on TawkrTV, our video stream worldwide, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And don't forget, you can join the conversation anytime by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
California, or the Golden State, has been in the midst of a 3-year drought, and this year, some scientists predict could be the driest in 500 years. Governor Jerry Brown declared a state of emergency in January and in February of this year. The world's 10th largest economy, California is also the United States' top agricultural producer. Half of all our fruits and vegetables come from California. The Golden State is not the only place on the planet struggling for this vital resource. In December 2013, The World Resources Institute found that 37 countries face severe water shortages. Free Speech TV would love to know what you think about this fight for water, especially if you're from the Golden State. Please call our comment line at 1-888-378-8855 or email us at comments@freespeech.org to let us know your thoughts.
In 1920s America, the Great Depression effectively erased consumer demand. Struggling manufacturers needed new ways to get people buying again. Innovative production processes like stamping and use of molds allowed them to use new materials for their designs. Products using vinyl, chrome, aluminium and plywood began appearing. American industrial designers began introducing streamlined, efficient shapes that shouted progress. Bel Geddes pioneered what we now refer to as utilitarian art. Things that had little reason to look sleek now all of a sudden did. At the 1939 World Fair featuring Bel Geddes' immensely popular Futurama exhibit, a new era of American industrial design proudly claimed to be building the world of tomorrow. Americans found great positivity in these futuristic forms. Yay. Things were looking up. American industrial designers realised that by making objects look great, people simply wanted them more. From cars to kitchen appliances, the most influential society on earth was spending money again. Mass consumption had arrived. Advertisers finally had lots to talk about. Personal taste could be expressed through the things you bought. Style became equally as important as function. Chair designers like Eames and Saarinen didn't just design seating, they created desirable lifestyles. People behind the products suddenly were stars. Everyone wanted to know who they were. Raymond Loewy was one of the shining lights of American industrial design. His face ended up on every coffee table in the nation. Toothpaste packaging promised whiter teeth. Washing powder packaging promised whiter whites. Who knew such simple household objects would shape the tastes and ambitions of an entire society? American industrial design improved America, functionally, culturally and intellectually, and exported it around the globe.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Seen around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, if you haven't already done so, you've got until midnight tonight to sign up for the Affordable Care Act. Get on it. Already, almost 7 million people have. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? Nice to see you today. Hello, hello, hello. And welcome back to me. Maybe some of you noticed, haven't been here for the last 10 days. Off for a little family vacation in Hawaii on the island of Kauai and the little village of Hanalei, which I love. And it's good to be back with you, however, to get caught up again with the news of the day. That's what we bring you every day here on the Bill Press Show, the news of the day from Washington, D.C., from around the country and around the globe. And we make it a two-way street. You make it a two-way street by giving us a call, of course, jumping into the conversation at 866-55-PRESS. Joining us on, sending us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Hail, the gang's all here this morning with Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy. Hello, guys.
Hey.
Good morning.
Did you miss me?
Of course we did.
We did.
Right.
We really did.
Oh, God, cat's out of town.
Nice to have you back.
But Peter did a great job hosting, by the way. We had a lot of calls. It was really, really a good week.
I know. I always get nervous when I go away and Peter hosts. I don't think I'm going to let him do it anymore.
Please.
Not only Peter, but I also thought I've heard good things about Evan McMorris Santoro.
Yes, indeed.
And Sabrina Siddiqui.
Yeah.
And Clinton Yates. And I hope you appreciate all of them. All of them. Good people.
It takes a village, Bill.
It does take
When you're
a village.
gone, we brought everybody in. We rallied, and they did a great job.
And is it true? We made the revelation last week. Is Sabrina Siddiqui the first female host of the Bill Press Show?
To host all 3 hours of the show, I think that's right.
The only other one who may have done so is Victoria Jones.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that Victoria did the whole show.
I thought she did once, maybe. Maybe. Right. But could be Sabrina. Certainly the first Indian American.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's right.
For Women's History Month, it's kind of groundbreaking.
We made history last week, yes. But seriously, everybody did such a great job that I am encouraged to take even more vacation. All right.
Bye.
Goodbye. Right. See. Now, for the rest of this week, your substitute host will be.
Anybody else want to host?
Yeah, right.
Give us a call.
Oh, anyhow, so good to see you this morning. And by the way, we know that the president, big trip last week. It was a good week for me to be out of town because nothing was happening at the White House. President was out of town. And a little embarrassment again for the Secret Service. They're going to have to stop sending the Secret Service guys to his destinations ahead of time because they have a lot of time on their hands and they tend to get in trouble. They did down in Colombia last couple of years ago, and this time 3 agents did so in Amsterdam, went out on a big drinking spree the night before the president arrived. One of them was found. I mean, it's disgusting. Those guys, I mean, seriously, I know the Secret Service is a phenomenal outfit. I know a lot of them. They're outstanding men and women, do a great, great job. And you get 3 bozos like this who give the entire agency a bad reputation by going out, getting drunk. One of them passed out in the hotel room, in the lobby, not the lobby, but the corridor, hallway of a hotel. I mean, come on.
And drink with better friends, by the way, if they're going to let you pass out in the hallway.
Yeah, right.
Come on, man. You gotta work with your wingmen a little bit better.
Yeah. At any rate, Jimmy Fallon said there was something else strange about getting drunk in Amsterdam.
So that 3 Secret Service agents have been placed on administrative leave after they got drunk in Amsterdam while they were there to protect the president. This raises a lot of questions, like who goes to Amsterdam to get drunk?
Good point. Yeah. So, better drinking than pot. I mean, that would have been even more of a scandal, I think, for the Secret Service. But we're going to start out this hour with Josh Gerstein from Politico, find out about the president's trip and other stuff that's going on this week. We'll also be joined later by reporters for Huffington Post and for the National Journal. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Congratulations to the movie Frozen, which is now officially the highest grossing animated movie
ever
of all time.
Wow.
The Lion King. Yeah.
Well, previously it was Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3 was the highest grossing animated movie of all time. Over the weekend, they passed that. According to the studio, Frozen has made $398.4 million here in the United States and $674 million internationally. That puts it well over $1 billion.
And then the big song, Let It Go.
That's it.
The whole thing. Yeah.
It is a money-making machine.
And I'm still proud of the fact that I took 2 of our grandsons to see it.
Remarkably, I haven't gone yet.
Over the Christmas holiday.
I haven't seen it yet.
Me neither, but we're going to have to.
Congratulations to this Marysville, California man. He had some bad luck and then some good luck. He got some news that his wife passed away, died of a heart attack, so he did, in her memory, went out and bought a lottery ticket.
Oh, man.
You want to finish the rest of the story?
I
you know how it is.
Oh, my goodness.
He won $650,000 after buying a $1 scratcher ticket the day after his wife passed away. So
his wife picked the number, right?
That's it.
He was
said he
smiling down from heaven. Yeah, how about that?
And while we're in California, La Jolla beaches saw a couple of unexpected items wash up. 2 giant bundles of marijuana washed up on the beach in La Jolla, California.
No kidding.
The lifeguards actually found it, and turned it into the police. Now, I was a lifeguard when I was a younger man. The last thing I would have done with that is turn it into the police. But they did, and they're not sure where exactly it came from.
Wow. By the way, I was at LAX Saturday coming back from Hawaii, and a lot of talk there, a lot of buzz about the earthquake Friday night. Southern California is really on edge because 2 weeks ago they had something like a 4.4 or something, and this one was a 5.1, and with over 100, I saw maybe 115 aftershocks.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps you on, having lived there so long, that's really what keeps you on edge. You have the big one, not the bigger quake, right? Not the big one.
Sure.
But the major one, and then you just sort of get over that, and then here comes another little one. Just keeps you on edge the whole time. So they tell us. Well, we are on edge here in Washington, D.C. for other reasons. Josh Gerstein joins me at the White House, covering the White House for Politico, joining us on our news line this morning. Hello, Josh.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. So I want to start with not this president, but we had yet again Friday another release that you've written about of more of the drip from the documents from the Clinton library. Did we see anything in the latest document drop that's worth talking about?
Yeah, I mean, we started to see a little bit about how the Clinton White House reacted to some of the big scandals, or probably the biggest scandal to emerge during the Clinton presidency, which...
There were so many. Which one?
Right, but I mean, to be candid, that's what I think a lot of people are watching for, are those kinds of documents, and there were not many. We're here, the stuff that came out on Friday were primarily speechwriter files, and some of these things were probably handled at an even more sensitive level than the speechwriters. So, but there was one memo in there from Mignon Moore, who's been in the news a little bit in the last few months, basically trying to make sense of the whole situation. It was 2 days after the Lewinsky affair emerged publicly, at least in the mainstream media, and 5 days before the president's State of the Union address in 1998, and she was sort of trying to suggest how that speech could be retooled to give it a little more lift and optimism, because they figured that those were the kinds of messages people needed to hear. But it was interesting, of all the people in the White House, that Mignon Moore was concerned about what the reaction to this situation was going to be, particularly among the president's supporters. It was very interesting to see her suggest that the tone of the speech needed to be changed to talk about restoring people's faith and trust in him and the presidency. One question is whether that really happened, because there was no mention. He ended up making no mention of the scandal at all. Although, the tone of the speech probably did reflect somewhat that strategy.
Why are these documents, Mignon Moore, one of the smartest political minds that I've known in Washington, why are these documents just being released now, Josh? What's the
Oh boy, I'll try to give you the short version. So normally, the president's records, they're basically kept completely locked up for 5 years after he leaves the presidency. He can make them public if he wants, but no one can force them out. From 5 to 12 years, you can request them. You can make a Freedom of Information request and get in line with everybody else. And there's thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of pages to be processed. And then at the 12-year mark, some of the material that they hold back in those first batches of records, mainly confidential advice to the president and between his most senior advisors, is supposed to become public. So they mark it as confidential. They don't make it immediately public, but at the 12-year mark, it's supposed to become public. For President Clinton, that came about 15 months ago, in January of 2013. For reasons that are still somewhat unclear, and we can't get the National Archives to explain to us, that information was not immediately made public, but when we at Politico began inquiring about the information about 2 months ago, suddenly whatever the logjam was seemed to break, and now we're getting these batches of Clinton information every week or two out of this previously withheld set of documents.
Got it. Thank you for doing it so succinctly, and it is more complicated than I thought. Josh Gerstein from Politico online with us, Politico.com. Well, this is the deadline, March 31, Josh. Where are we with the Affordable Care Act?
Well, I mean, I think the White House seems pretty happy about it. I'm sure you guys heard about this 6 million number last week, even when the president was out on the trip, he continued to do events, to call into calls of organizers who are out seeking sign-ups. I don't know if he called you, Bill. I heard you seeking sign-up just a moment ago. But he was still pushing it. It was a little awkward for the White House that he was out on this foreign trip right in the midst of that deadline, because I think they would have liked to harness his PR capacity to really keep things going. They have, fudged the deadline once again a little bit by saying that, well, if you say that you tried to sign up before the deadline, and you'll certify that they'll accept that for the next couple of weeks, and they're really not going to apparently check on it very thoroughly. But, I think the White House is fairly pleased. I think they understand they'll never really, or at least not in the short term, be able to fully recover from the publicity and negative publicity hit they took when healthcare.gov rolled out. But they think that given that they've done about as good a job righting the ship as they can.
I got to tell you, if they're between 6 and 7 million, which it looks like they're going to be, right? I'm stunned by that. I never thought they'd get that high. So they've really been pushing that. What do we know much about the demographics? I mean, are these people who have signed up and actually have paid and have health care, and are there enough of them younger to make the system work?
Well, look, I mean, this is one of my, I'm a big fan of transparency, and so this has been one of my complaints all along. I didn't understand from the day that this thing rolled out, given the era we live in and how sophisticated the Obama campaign is and so forth, and that you can see a ticker of various kinds of tickers of different things on your screen, depending what network you watch, maybe 100 of them at once. That we couldn't get a little more information about this, and frankly, some kind of real-time information about what was happening with the sign-ups. Instead, it's come out in dribs and drabs, and people have been asking since last week, what are the percentages? As you say, how many people paid? Because you don't have insurance till you pay. You got to sign up, and then you have to pay. And it's been very hard to get that information. And another critical question, which is, are these people that are just swapping because the plan they had was more expensive? I mean, that's good if they get a better deal, or being kicked out by their insurance company, or being kicked out by their employers who's not carrying insurance, or are these people that really were among the uninsured, which was what much of the Affordable Care Act was aimed at addressing? And I have not heard reliable statistics yet about what the breakdown is on these groups. We think they're lagging a little bit with the 20-somethings that they're trying to get in, and are probably the hardest group to pitch the insurance to.
So, Josh, when I left on my little 10-day vacation, the president was trying to persuade our European allies to tighten the screws on Russia because of the annexation of Crimea. He had a chance to talk about that one-on-one with a lot of them last week. Any progress at all in that area?
Well, they presented a very united front, so everybody seemed to understand that it was important that they be seen as being in sync on these issues. Whether they really are completely in sync is unclear. I think the president was fairly candid about the fact that tougher sanctions on Russia will mean different impacts on different countries. He said that in at least one of his appearances over there. The big concern here is, there are certain countries that are very dependent on Russian energy. And if there becomes really a trade war between these countries, it frankly won't hurt the U.S. economy directly in any way, shape, or form, I don't think, but it would have a really substantial effect on some of those European countries. And so I still think they're trying to find a way forward. They did kind of put together, I think, the positive part of this, which is there's some bailout package for the Ukraine that the IMF has put together that various countries have validated that will provide them a substantial amount of money and some sorts of lines of credit and so forth to get them through this crisis. So they did the happier, more positive part of it. I still think the bulk of the sanctions that would really bite in Moscow are still being worked on, and they're hoping that they don't have to pull the trigger, that somehow by threatening with this that they can get Putin to move back at least from the borders of what is now a smaller, more confined Ukraine. I think that everyone sort of acknowledges he's unlikely to pull out of Crimea.
Yeah.
But they can get him to pull back his troops, which are according to some reports, as many as 50,000 troops now lining the borders of Ukraine, making people pretty nervous.
Which I understandably pretty nervous. Hey, Josh, good to have a chance to run things down with you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Okay, Bill, anytime. Take care.
Look for you later at the White House. Josh Gerstein covering the White House for Politico.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
my beauty,
my power,
my life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name is Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
This is the Bill Press Show.
27 minutes after the hour now here on this Monday morning. Pretty sobering lead story in the New York Times this morning. Here's the headline: Panel's warning on climate risk the worst is yet to come. This is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change from the United Nations issuing their latest report, where they say that climate change is already having an impact on every one of the continents, and the worst is yet to come. They cite that evidence of climate change: ice caps are melting, sea ice in the Arctic is collapsing, water supplies are coming under stress, heat waves and heavy rains are intensifying, coral reefs are dying, and fish and many other creatures are either migrating toward the poles or in some cases going extinct.
Jeez.
This is not what they say could happen if we don't do anything about climate change. This is what they are saying is happening today already, and we still are not doing anything about it, and the worst is yet to come. What is it going to take? Man, I got to tell you, another thing I did during my break is I read this great new book by Elizabeth Colbert called The Sixth Extinction, which is basically, this is the first time that creatures, us, we are destroying the planet we live on. Got to get serious about climate change.
Is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Okay, make it 33 minutes after the hour now here on the Monday morning, March 31. It is the Bill Press Show, coming to you live from our nation's capital, our studio on Capitol Hill, just down the street from the United States Capitol building. Brought to you today by the National Education Association, the great teachers of America, under President Dennis Van Rokel. Making a difference in the classrooms of America every day, you bet. Find out more about their good work at their website, NEA.org. Well, I don't know anybody who picked Florida to go all the way, except for Peter's 6-year-old son.
That's right.
Magnus. And among our team here, he's the only one who is still in the game, correct?
That's it.
Or who still could possibly win.
Everybody else is out.
So much for Louisville.
Louisville's gone.
I'll never trust
Michigan State is
I'll
gone.
never trust Barack Obama again about anything. Jordan Schultz covers all of these issues, sports columnist for the Huffington Post and a co-host of Cup and Schultz on NBC Sports Radio, joining us on our news line this morning. Hey, Jordan, how are you?
Hey, Bill, I'm doing real well, thank you.
All right. So this is really kind of it. That's the fun of it, is to seeing the lower seeded teams for it. Surprise everybody. But this has been a year of surprises, hasn't it?
It's really been an incredible tournament, and I was just having this conversation last night. I think this is the best tournament in the past 10, 15 years that I can remember. It's been a perfect balance, Bill, of Cinderellas and also seniors. I mean, we talk about the year of the freshmen with Jabari Parker and Julius Randle, and yet Florida, as you mentioned, they start 4 seniors, and then Dayton starts a ton of seniors. And, a lot of these teams that are still alive are senior-laden teams, upperclassmen, and I think that's a really nice story.
Mm-hmm.
I do love, I think you're right, by the way. I think that people love seeing the upsets, but they also like seeing a dominant team that's been dominant all season go far.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that, I don't know anybody that saw UConn go into the Final Four. I mean, just talking among people that in my group, I haven't seen anybody that's had UConn doing as well as they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, UConn's a perfect example. Great guards, great coach, and a team that got hot at the right time. But even UConn got blitzed by Louisville in the American title game. So that's a perfect example of a team that, got hot at the right time, but also a team that once again relies on upperclassmen. I mean, one of their best players, DeAndre Daniels, had a terrible stretch this season. So, I really like UConn, and I think it's a great story. I mean, there's a lot of really good teams that are not in the tournament anymore, and UConn's a team that got out at the right time, playing great basketball. And I mean, I've loved them all year, but this is not something that I think most people saw coming. There's a 7 seed in the Final Four. There's an 8 seed.
Yeah,
UConn trying to become just the second 7 seed ever to win the title.
And friends of the show here, a couple of people that we've had on have been saying, and Peter and I just look at them and say, "You got to be crazy." Kentucky. They kept talking up Kentucky. Kentucky's going to be in the Final Four. Kentucky's going to go. We never believed them, and yet here they are, right? And a good friend of ours, Sam Youngman, moved from Washington to Kentucky this year to be the chief political reporter for whatever the lead paper is down there. And he is in pig heaven these days. Did you see Kentucky coming?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, Kentucky's the most talented team in the country, and they really struggled this year, guys. They had a really hard time adjusting with their freshmen. They have 6 freshmen that play minutes, and John Calipari's been a lot less demonstrative on the sideline the past month, and something happened with them over the past 10, 11 games where they changed. And Calipari said he made a huge adjustment, but he's not telling us the adjustment until after the season. I'm not sure exactly what it was. We can speculate, but the bottom line is they are incredibly talented. All those freshmen finally playing together. It's a wonderful story for a team that, really struggled this season.
That's fascinating. I hadn't heard that about Calipari making that switch. That's
that
very,
makes you wonder exactly what's going on. Yeah,
Yeah, and he's a little bit of a secretive guy. So to see this happen is really interesting. I mean, I think when it comes down to it, he's certainly yelling at his players a lot less.
Yeah. And then finally, we look at Wisconsin, which they came in as a 2 seed, but I had them going out way earlier just because in years past, Wisconsin has always had a good
Underachieved.
team that just cannot play well in March.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Ryan's an incredible coach. He won 3 national titles as a Division III coach at Wisconsin Whitewater, and he really worked his way up. And this is a great example, guys, of a team that overachieves. Wisconsin, not incredibly talented, but they beat an Arizona team that is incredibly talented. And I love this Wisconsin team. They can beat anybody. And like you said, they have underachieved at times in the NCAA tournament before, but this is a really, really good senior line team once again that can beat anybody. I mean, when you have great guards and a great coach and you have upperclassmen, you're going to be in every game.
All right, so Jordan, we want to put you to the test here now. The Final Four, both games are Saturday, and the final play is on Monday, I believe. Yeah, Monday, April 7th. So who's going to be the top 2, and who's going to win it all?
Oh, you guys are putting me on the spot.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And we're going to save the tape too, babe.
That's right.
I haven't really thought.
Oh, come on.
About, well, here's the thing. It's a little bit more wide open, this Final Four, than I think people realize.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one team right now, I would probably go with. I'd probably go with Connecticut as a dramatic underdog. I think they're gonna play Florida in the national or in the semifinal Saturday night, and Florida's a heavy favorite going in. But I think Connecticut is the hottest team in the tournament, along with Kentucky. But I would expect Connecticut and Wisconsin; those would be my Final Four picks, and I would take UConn in the final. Now, that's subject to change, fellas. So I don't know for sure.
I would love. I would love to see UConn and Kentucky, a 7 and an 8 seed playing in the final. I mean, that would be just nuts. So
yeah, Jordan said UConn and Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but you know what? Kentucky is very capable, and like I said, talent-wise, they can beat anybody. So it's a really, really tough team to beat right now.
Okay. All right. We'll just remember this and maybe give you a call a week from now or a week and a day from now. So, Jordan, the other thing is, let's not lose sight of the fact Major League Baseball kicked off last night. Today's the first game for the Washington Nationals. Here we go again. Exciting season. What do you see?
Yeah, it's really interesting that this is happening now because the Dodgers played a week ago in Australia. They played 2 games. I don't know if people realize that those games actually counted.
What? Really?
You guys know that?
No.
Yeah. So
how can they?
So you're right. This is opening day, and there's not a lot of opening day is like almost an American holiday. I feel like it's a great day.
There's a push, by the way, to make it an actual day off of work, like an actual national holiday.
I'll tell you, when the Nats play their first game in Washington, whenever it is, right? I guess
today.
I thought they were playing out of town.
No. Today they're in New York.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, they have the home opener.
The home opener is Friday, I guess, huh? And there will be nobody at work in Washington D.C.
Yeah,
it'll be a federal holiday. Believe it.
It literally it will be. Yeah, I think if they made this a national holiday, people would really. I think that would really be great for this nation.
I'm behind it.
In terms of Major League Baseball opening, my pick before the year is the Dodgers. I'm going to go out and say that I do like that team a lot, but you know what? Last year, nobody that I talked to had the Red Sox winning it all, so who knows?
Right.
I mean, we always are concerned about the Nats, who had bad luck 2 seasons ago, and then just
in St. Louis
didn't do great last season. So they've got a new manager this year. What are they looking at?
Yeah, I mean, the Nationals have so much talent, and if Strasburg can stay healthy, this team is immensely talented, like I said. And I think Bryce Harper this guy is going to be a superstar. There's just no question about it. I like the new manager. I like the team. They're balanced. I think last year was an underachieving year because they had such a low 2 years ago, the way they lost to St. Louis in the playoffs.
Yeah. Oh,
and last year they did underachieve, no question about it. But I think this year's team more balanced. If they're healthy, they'll have an opportunity to make a big run. But health is a big concern in baseball, especially with the pitching staff in Strasburg.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jordan, tell us about Culp and Schultz. When can we catch you on NBC Sports Radio?
Oh, absolutely, guys. 9 a.m. to noon, Sunday mornings on NBC Sports Radio. So it's a really fun show. Not as fun as yours, but it's a good time.
Hey, we'll check it out. NBC Sports Radio, Compton Schultz, Jordan Schultz joining us on our news line this morning. Hey, thanks, Jordan. Good to talk to you.
Okay, thank you, guys. Take care.
All right, we'll see you Sunday morning on Compton Schultz on NBC Sports Radio.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
In the next hour, we'll be joined by Sam Baker from the National Journal to bring us the latest on Obamacare. which we'll talk about here in just a couple of minutes, too. And also from Mother Jones, reporter talking about the latest on this movie, Noah, which is just a sensation. And it's got a lot of people upset about it because, as I understand it, I haven't seen it, just came out, did $44 million over the weekend. But the religious right is not happy with it because they say it's not godly enough, the story of Noah. And a lot of environmentalists and scientists, or secularists, if you will, are not happy with it because they say it depicts the flood and the ark and Noah as actually happening when, in fact, it's probably just a nice story. Makes a good children's story, but didn't really happen. So, but despite that, people are going to go see this thing.
Yeah, it's making money.
We'll find out what that is all about. Mentioned Obamacare. Today is the deadline, and the numbers came out last week. I know you talked about this with Peter and the others while I was gone, where with 4 days left at the end of the week, we were told that over 6 million people had signed up for Obamacare, which I find really remarkable. By the way, so today, then we had the weekend. Over 2 million people visited the site over the weekend, knowing this is a deadline. More will be, of course, maybe another million visiting the website today. So I think in the end, they're probably going to report that over 7 million people have signed up for Obamacare, which is remarkable when you realize the problems that they had with the launch in the first place. And the Congressional Budget Office, not the White House, people get that confused. The Congressional Budget Office originally said, if things go according to plan, by March 31, we will have 8 million people signed up. Then there were the problems with the website, with the launch last October, and the CBO revised its projection and said now we could expect, if they get it fixed, 6 million people will sign up. So in effect, again, we won't know the final numbers until after midnight tonight, but it's already over 6 million. It could be as high as 7 million. For Obamacare to outpace what the Congressional Budget Office said could happen by March 31, again, given the problems with the website, that is, to quote our great Vice President, Joe Biden, a BFD.
Okay, thank you.
It is. It is a BFD, right? And all those who said, nobody's going to buy it, nobody's going to sign up, nobody likes it, nobody's going to get any benefits out of it, are just dead wrong. And this proves that they're wrong. And so, I don't know. Think about it. Republicans have put all their eggs in this one basket for 2014. They have said they're going to keep the House, they're going to take back the Senate, they're going to win the governorships around the country by getting everybody who's unhappy with Obamacare to vote for Republicans, vote against Democrats. That's the one issue that they've got. That's all they want to run on. And I think every day we see more and more success out of Obamacare, and we see a lot of success right now with this deadline and close to 7 million people signing up. I think Republicans better look for another issue to run on.
You know, we talked last week.
And you don't hear any stories. I'm sorry, you don't hear any stories anymore about people having so much difficulty getting on the website. Right. You don't hear stories anymore about people who, signed up for something and say, this is a piece of crap. Stories you're hearing now about people who never had health care before, who suddenly have it and see the benefits for themselves and their families. Sorry, Peter.
That's the huge deal. It's now been 4 years and 1 week is the anniversary of the Affordable Care Act. Republicans have just started to formulate their actual alternative, right? Which isn't even a finalized deal or not even close to becoming a reality. No. But now they realize, we should have an alternative if we're going to try and repeal this. And in the meantime, 6 million people now have health care coverage. That alone is such a high hurdle to get across if you oppose it.
And I repeat,
good luck with that.
Right. These are 6 million people who never had health insurance before, were totally vulnerable. The only thing they had going for them was being able to go to the emergency room. They never had health insurance before because they could not afford it and because they could not get access to it because of some pre-existing condition or whatever reason, the insurance companies will turn them down. Now those 6+, right, almost 7 million people do have health insurance, and every year there are going to be more and more people signed up, and people will see the benefits of it. Obamacare, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Obamacare is here to stay. And I think the thing to do now, and everybody ought to be focused on, is how to make it even a better plan for the people who are in it, and how to bring more people into the system and build this till we have really the kind of universal health care in this country that we should have had a long time ago, and that countries like Canada and France and England have been enjoying forever. You got until midnight tonight, if you haven't already done so, to sign up. So get to it, healthcare.gov. Do it today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
California, or the Golden State, has been in the midst of a 3-year drought, and this year, some scientists predict could be the driest in 500 years. Governor Jerry Brown declared a state of emergency in January and in February of this year. The world's 10th largest economy, California is also the United States' top agricultural producer. Half of all our fruits and vegetables come from California. The Golden State is not the only place on the planet struggling for this vital resource. In December 2013, the World Resources Institute found that 37 countries face severe water shortages. Free Speech TV would love to know what you think about this fight for water, especially if you're from the Golden State. Please call our comment line at 1-888-378-8855 or email us at comments@freespeech.org to let us know your thoughts.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
On a Monday morning, March 31, coming to you live from our nation's capital. And the next hour, Sam Baker will join us from the National Journal to give us his take on Obamacare, where we are, where we're going. And then Aswin Suebsaeng from Mother Jones will be here to take us through this phenomenon called Noah that hit the big screens over the weekend, stirred up a lot of controversy. President Obama back at the White House late Saturday, and he will be in the White House for meetings this morning. 10:30, he and the vice president he gets the daily briefing. The vice president's on the road as well today, and then the rest of the day he will be meeting with senior advisors. I'm sure trying to catch up on stuff that he missed last week. We have our briefing today with Jay Carney at 1:15 at the White House. Stay tuned for hour number 3 here on the Bill Press Show this Monday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, good morning, friends and neighbors. What do you say? It is Monday, last day of March, March 31, 2014. Forget the NCAA. This is the opening day for Major League Baseball. Yes, indeed. Well, you can't forget the NCAA because now we know the Final Four. Connecticut and Florida and Kentucky and Wisconsin. And I am totally out of the March Madness brackets. Yeah. That's what happens when you go away for 10 days. And by the way, I was away for 10 days, and what's going on? You still haven't found that missing flight, Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. As we know, there's a new search area. New debris has been spotted, but so far, nobody can connect any of that debris to the missing plane. You know what? Those theories about being abducted by a UFO are starting to sound more and more plausible. You also didn't fix the Crimea. Putin still in Russia gobbled up Crimea. But one development in a surprise move, Vladimir Putin made a phone call to President Obama and said, maybe we ought to talk this over. John Kerry jetted off to Paris, where he has met with the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, and they are still looking for a diplomatic solution to that whole crisis to ease the tension in the Middle East. Meanwhile, lots more going on. President Obama is back in town after that whirlwind tour of Europe, which took him from the Netherlands to an historic meeting with Pope Francis in Rome to a meeting with the King of Saudi Arabia. Back here with meetings at the White House today. We'll talk all about it, of course, here on Free Speech TV, where you can reach us on your satellite dish, DirecTV, and on TawkrTV, our video stream worldwide, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And don't forget, you can join the conversation anytime by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look! Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory? Did you take a chance?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Did you commit to change the world?
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
The latest report says from the United Nations, climate change is already having serious effects on every continent and throughout the world's oceans, and the worst is yet to come. Yeah, well, that good news. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? It is Monday, March 31. Great to see you today, and good to be back with you. After a little time out in Hawaii, island of Kauai, in the town of Honolulu. Back with you today, and good to be here to bring you up to date on the news of the day from our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe, and give you a chance to sound off about it at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. And, of course, you can always send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. Back with the entire team here this morning, Peter Rockburn and Elisa Murphy. Hello, guys.
Hey.
Good morning. Welcome back.
Cruz, thank you. Alicia Cruz has the phones covered. Cyprian Bolding keeping us looking good on the video cam and our worldwide video stream at TawkrTV, TAWKR-TV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And, of course, we are here with you on your local progressive talk radio station. Glad to be there as your progressive morning show. Don't forget, support your local station. Support the sponsors on your local station because you're lucky if you've got one. So, and by the way, let's also welcome, he's here so often, he's just about a full-fledged member of the team, not a guest anymore, Sam Baker, who covers healthcare issues for the National Journal. Hello, Sam. Good to see you. And a resident of Capitol Hill. So
that's right.
You're here in the hood. Chris Christie joined some of the Republican 2016 hopefuls who made the pilgrimage to Las Vegas this weekend to worship at the shrine of Sheldon Adelson. Now, why would you go out to Las Vegas to worship, to honor Sheldon Adelson? maybe because he spent $93 million in support of Republican candidates in 2012, and he's expected to spend $100 million this year. Last time he backed, 4 years ago, he backed a real loser, Newt Gingrich, for president. Remember, he was Newt's big sugar daddy. They all had their sugar daddy.
They did.
Yeah.
Who Foster Freeze.
Foster Freeze, that's it. I was just trying to think of the, right. He was Santorum's sugar daddy, right. Yeah. So Sheldon Adelson is looking who's going to support this time. Chris Christie is one of the candidates who went out there this weekend. Jimmy Fallon had some fun with Chris Christie because Christie, now that the report he commissioned to exonerate him on Bridgegate has come out and exonerated him as he told them to. Now he's become very introspective, looking inside himself to see what he could possibly do wrong. Jimmy Fallon had some fun with that.
Oh, did you see this? In a new interview with Diane Sawyer, Chris Christie said that at his core he is passionate, loving, and caring, which is weird because I would have guessed caramel and nougat. But I don't know.
At his core, caramel and nougat. Poor guy. Even though he had that surgery, he's still pretty big.
Over the weekend when he had his thing on Friday, was the first time that I looked at him and I saw his face. I think had slimmed up a little bit.
It has slimmed up a little bit.
Slimmed up a little bit.
It's all relative, right?
Exactly.
Sam Baker here with us again to talk healthcare and Obamacare on this, the deadline we have been waiting for. Aswin Suebsaeng from Mother Jones joins us to talk the latest sensational film, Noah, at the half hour. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. All the big stories making news. Florida could be getting a little bit faster. The Florida legislature is considering a bill that could lead to a 75-mile-per-hour speed limit. Now, the way that the law is written, they're going to allow the counties to raise the speed limit by 5 miles per hour.
To 75?
And the fastest that they have now is 70, so they can raise it to 75 miles per hour in Florida.
Alligator Alley, watch out.
That's it, man. Pope Francis continued to make waves.
Which means, by the way, that people will drive 85.
Oh, yeah, exactly. If it's 75,
right?
Yeah, that's the rule.
Or at least 84.
84. That's my dad's rule. As long as you're going less than 10 miles, you're okay. 84, that's where it's at.
Yes, officer. I heard it on the Bill Press show this morning.
Let's make sure everybody's clear. It is not 75 now, okay? Mm-hmm. Pope Francis continued to make waves. He, over the weekend, broke tradition and he gave a public confession. He confessed publicly, not in the confessional, but right out in the open so everybody could see him, which is a big, big thing. It's not something that popes usually do.
I don't think hearing the Pope's confession you'd be hearing a lot of really grave sins.
I wouldn't think so. No. But, it's more of pulling the curtain back that this Pope seems to enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And to college basketball, the Final Four is set. Florida Gators will be taking on the Yukon Huskies this Saturday, and the Wisconsin Badgers will be taking on the Kentucky Wildcats. That is your Final Four. Sam, very excited about that. We had Sam on a week ago. He was happy to see the Wildcats where they were. Didn't know if they were going to make it to the Final Four, but here they are.
Now, let's be honest, Sam. You really didn't think Kentucky was going to go this far.
No, I didn't. But I'm happy that they are. I'll admit it. I didn't. This isn't my bracket, but I'd rather have my team than my bracket.
Yeah. All right. Did you go there?
I'm from there.
You're from there, but you didn't go to the University of Kentucky. Yeah.
But
all right.
We should point out to everybody who's following here on the Bill Press Show, the Bill Press Show brackets.
Yes.
Everyone is out now except for 6-year-old Magnus Ogburn, my child, who picked the Florida Gators to win the whole thing because that's where Disney World is.
Yes. Now, I won the bracket last year. I know next to Magnus.
Yeah.
Least about sports of any of them, which I think says a lot about the whole March Madness.
6-year-old could win this whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. Can I have Magnus buy my next lottery ticket?
I'll loan him to you. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll give him 10%.
He knows what he's doing.
All right, so talk about the lottery. Today's the day. Sam, we've been waiting for March 31, 2014 for 4 years now.
That's right.
And so can we say that Obamacare is a success or not a success based on what we know today?
I think we can say that it we won't know for a couple of weeks exactly how many people signed up. We know it's north of 6 million. So, I think we can safely say that it is a success to this point. There was sort of one big set of hurdles that it had to clear. And when you really think back over that 4-year period, it's incredible. It was hard to get this thing passed in the first place. You had the 2010 midterms. The Supreme Court almost struck it down.
Right.
The 2012 election. Then it didn't work when it launched. It's been through a lot. And I think wherever enrollment ends, we know it's sort of high enough. Some other people have used the analogy, it's sort of cleared the tower, which I think is a good way of looking at it.
Yeah. I thought that given the problems that with the website, which was they lost 2 months, right?
Yeah, they're about a month and a half to 2 months.
Yeah. That if they got to 5 million, they would have been. And because I remember saying, well, if they get to 5, the CBO, which originally said 8 million was their goal, they revised that down to 6, I believe. So if they got to 5, I thought that would be phenomenal, like unbelievable. They're going to be over 6. They are over 6 already. Right?
Yeah, they hit.
So they
6,
could be 7 million.
They hit 6 sometime last week, and if the photos that the White House has been tweeting out over the weekend are any guide, there is still a lot of demand. It looks like a lot of people in line in areas where the White House has made a very concerted push. So, I think the biggest thing.
Are these people who signed up on the federal exchange or the state exchange or both?
Depends on the state, but the states that the White House has targeted the most aggressively are generally on the federal exchange.
Federal exchange.
Yeah, Florida's on the federal exchange. Texas is on the federal exchange. And then the third state sort of in that trifecta was California, which had its own exchange, which has already surpassed its enrollment goals.
Now, when you go back to the debate, the debate over universal health care, and which ended up being Affordable Care Act, which ended up being Obamacare, the whole argument was there are like 36 million, 40 million people, whatever. The number was up around there who don't have health insurance in this country, and what a disgrace this would. So how do we get from the goal of providing universal health care for those 36 or 40 down to being happy that we have 6 million?
Well, the Affordable Care Act has always envisioned sort of ramping up its enrollment over about 3 years. So 6 million is for the first year. Then you build on that next year, and then the year after that. So that's sort of the window that CBO has put together of how they expect enrollment to go.
But is this the low-hanging fruit then? This first 6-7 million?
Probably, yeah. And that's one of the questions for insurance companies and for all of us is who are the people who are signing up? Are they healthy? Are they sick? We won't know that for a long time. But over time, CBO expects that this law will enroll about 24 million of the uninsured. That number isn't everybody because it doesn't account for people who are here illegally, and because now less than half the states, but still a number of big states, have not taken part in the Medicaid expansion, which dropped the number of people down pretty significantly.
All right. So what happens tomorrow? What will be different tomorrow once the deadline has changed? Are they going to be penalized if they don't have health insurance?
Well, so it sort of depends. How
do they enforce that, right?
That will be enforced on your taxes next year. So when you file your 2014 taxes in April of 2015, if you didn't have insurance, you will have to pay a penalty. The IRS isn't set up to collect that penalty yet. Based on the web traffic that it sounds like they're starting to see today, there will probably be some people who can't get through today. Those people will be able to come back and finish the process and sign up. As long as they were in line today, those people will be able to come back and finish up over the next couple of weeks. And
so then another week or so of late bloomers or whatever, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
People who waited till the very last minute and then couldn't quite get in.
So if you were at Walmart and you were in line, right, to get into the store, but they were closing at midnight, they would let those of you who were already in line at least come in and shop. Right.
Yeah, the White House compares it to Election Day. If you're in line when the polls close, you get to vote. So, there's some questions about how they're enforcing whether you were in line or how they're determining whether you're in line. Maybe they're just taking your word for it, which is probably not great in terms of, enforcing the open enrollment period for the purposes
So
you want to have.
what does this say about the longevity of Obamacare?
I think it says that you've cleared that first hurdle. The only sort of threat that comes next would be if premiums go way up next year. And premiums will go up because premiums always go up, but it's a question of how much. A lot of the experts that I've talked to don't expect to see that big of an increase, especially in competitive markets. Some plans in some states are saying they might have to raise their rates a little more than they expected. We just don't know yet. But I think, especially from the White House's perspective, this is part of the system now.
But I guess what I'm getting at is, we know the Republicans' plan this year is to run on Obamacare, right?
Right.
And their thing is repeal, 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 repeal. Sometimes they say replace it, but with what, we still don't know. If they have 7 million people signed up, or close to 7 million people signed up, they're not going to repeal Obamacare. Wouldn't you have to agree?
Yes, absolutely. Certainly not while Barack Obama is still president. He's not going to go along with it. And so then you're going to have even another year of people signing up, and to make so much hay over, if you like your plan, you can keep it, and then campaign on kicking 7 million people off of their private plans, not to mention however many people have gotten Medicaid, is that's not going to happen.
Yeah. So Obamacare is here to stay.
Yes, I think so.
So do you think the folk, not that Republicans would ever admit that, probably never, ever, ever, but it seems to me as a campaign strategy, it's going to be lacking this year, and more lacking every successive year. As more people sign up.
People still don't like it, though. It hasn't, you sort of had two predictions a couple of years ago. Everyone said, well, wait until people really see it. And Democrats said they'll love it, which hasn't happened. And Republicans said it'll collapse, and that hasn't happened. So you're right, it is here to stay, and there's probably realistically nothing that Republicans can do to stop it. But it still doesn't pull very well, and people still don't seem to like it.
Yeah. So what would it take to make it pull better? Stories about people who have health care for the first time and are getting advantages for their family they could never take advantage of. I mean, their kids, right, or themselves, serious illness, and here they could never afford it before, and now they've got coverage.
And you just haven't had that many of those anecdotes because, those people have been in the process of signing up over the past couple of months, and, their coverage hasn't started yet, or it's just about to start, so you'll get a lot more of that.
All right, you heard it here from Sam Baker. If you get in line today, because as long as you're in line by midnight, you'll be able to qualify and purchase and become a member of the Affordable Care Act. Get Obamacare for you and your family. Your questions, your comments, your experience. If you're one of those who signed up and now have health insurance for the very first time, one of those 6 million plus, 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land. Only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
as an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday.
It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour here, talking health care, Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, on the day of the deadline with Sam Baker, healthcare correspondent for the National Journal, nationaljournal.com. Sam, here is Sam from Rochester, New York. Hello, Sam. Good morning.
Hey, how you doing, Bill? Hey, listen, why is it that whenever we hear that Obamacare is not working, blah, 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 the same individuals, why don't they point out that the major components of the health care law does poll very highly, like young people, 26,
yeah,
and pre-existing conditions and can't get dropped and no caps. Those polled in the 70s and 80s. So why can't you say, make those points? Why is it always nobody likes Obamacare?
That's a very interesting question, Sam. You look at the polling. This is your right,
and
is Sam right?
He is. That is absolutely true. Those individual components do poll very high. There's one poll that does a really good job of this. They look at awareness, the number of people you ask, does the Affordable Care Act do this, and do you like that thing? Awareness is highest for the least popular. Everybody knows about the individual mandate, and everybody hates it. And these other things that people like, fewer people know that they're in there. So that's the disconnect. And the caller's absolutely right. Those things poll very well, but people don't understand that the Affordable Care Act includes them.
So those who do know about them or have signed up for them and are now benefiting from the fact that they can't be denied because they have a pre-existing condition, they can't be charged double because they're a woman, right? They're allowed to keep their kid on their parents on their health care plan until they're 26. They poll very high.
They do, even among people who can't, or who aren't directly benefiting from them. People like the sound of those things. They just don't make the connection that this is a part of Obamacare.
So the challenge, it seems to me, then for Democrats, particularly in 2014, is to find a way to message the success and the benefits of Obamacare, and make lemonade out of a lemon, I guess.
That's, I'm sure, what they're trying to come up with. Yeah.
All right. Okay, Sam, it's good to walk through this with you again one more time, and we will. I mean, this is not the end of it. We'll keep our eye on it. Talk to you again soon.
All right.
Sam from the National Journal, nationaljournal.com. Sam Baker, thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
For more than 18 months, the members of AFSCME 3299 have been working to secure a new contract with the University of California. With workplace injuries at UC skyrocketing and government fines related to safety deficiencies at UC hospitals skyrocketing, Local 3299's top priority has been safe staffing at the workplace.
We've been short of people for the last 5 years. They're stretching us thin, which the students are suffering, the faculty suffering, and the patients are suffering.
While UC administrators have granted these standards to other UC workers, they have refused to make similar accommodations for AFSCME represented workers who perform the most physically demanding labor at UC.
It takes a whole team to take care of the patient. It's not just the RN and it's not just the doctor. The nurses were able to win a great contract, and AFSCME workers, the patient care workers and service workers, they're part of the team and they deserve that same fair contract too.
We take pride into working for the university, and we feel like the university doesn't value the work that we do.
But the second-class treatment of AFSCME workers doesn't end at safety and staffing. On wages, benefits, and other issues, UC refuses to offer AFSCME 3299 members the same respect they afford their other workers.
I have 3 jobs because what the university pays me is just not enough to make a living for my family and myself.
99% of service workers in the UC system make so little money that they're eligible for at least some form of public assistance. At the same time, the number of executives in the UC system that have crossed over into making at least $250,000 a year has more than doubled since 2008.
The University of California has long been a beacon of hope and progress for those struggling for dignity and fairness. With such a proud history, it is disturbing to see the leadership of the university treat its lowest paid workers like second-class citizens.
All workers at the university deserve equal treatment.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, it's Monday morning, March 31, 33 minutes after the hour. It's The Bill Press Show coming to you live from Washington, D.C. and our studio on Capitol Hill. And brought to you today by AFSCME, the good men and women of AFSCME, the largest public employee and healthcare workers union in the entire country. Under President Lee Saunders, doing great work, and you can find out more about their great work at their website, AFSCME.org. Making America Happen at AFSCME, AFSCME.org. Check it out. Boy, a lot of controversy about a new film which opened on Friday here in the United States called Noah. Aswin Suebsaeng, that covers entertainment news as well as other news here in D.C. for Mother Jones, great publication, and joins us in studio. Swin, good to see you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. Say hello to our buddy David Korn, your bureau chief here in Washington for Mother Jones. So what's the flap about Noah? I mean, here's a story, a biblical story. You make a movie about it. There have been other biblical films out. Why the controversy around Noah? First of all, how's it doing?
Well, it's made so far approximately $95 million overseas, and in the U.S. box office over the weekend, it made about $44 million. So it's doing well.
So it opened first. Is it a European film?
No, it's an American film.
But opened first in Europe? Or
I forget which countries, but for instance, Australia, it opened before it opened in the United States. Yeah. I mean, American studios have been doing this more often, where they release overseas before domestic.
Really? They test it out then, huh? I guess. Okay, so what's the controversy about?
Well, it's actually plural. It's controversies. The outrage over this film has been...
Pick your outrage.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
It's been multi-pronged and international. I'll start with overseas, because this one's actually more serious than the annoying so-called controversies we have in the United States about this film. In countries such as Indonesia and Qatar and Bahrain, the governments there have actually banned the film, a national release of the film.
Because?
Well, among other reasons, I think primarily because the film goes against an Islamic prohibition, a conservative Islamic prohibition of representing in art or entertainment holy figures. And that doesn't just include Muhammad. It includes, as you can see, Noah.
Back to the famous cartoons by the Dutch cartoonist a few years ago.
The Danish cartoons.
Yeah. Danish, sorry, right.
So just by the fact that the film is called Noah and that Russell Crowe is standing there being Noah, even if it was like the movie was just 45 minutes of his staring blankly into a screen, it would still be violating this strict Islamic prohibition.
Which would be better than some of Russell Crowe's other movies.
Right.
By the way.
No, I was going to say, the fact that my protest will just be Russell Crowe, right? But anyhow. So banned in some countries.
Banned in some countries, yes. And I hope I'm not butchering the name, but Joko Anwar, a famous Indonesian filmmaker, has spoken out about this, in effect saying that if there's a film that you think might upset the population too much, I'm paraphrasing here, maybe the problem is with the regime and the government, not the film, which is absolutely true.
Right.
So that's what's going on overseas, which has to do with free speech.
How about the more silly controversies maybe in this country?
When it gets more fun, when we talk about what's going on stateside. Well, I'll start off with a quick one. Glenn Beck is mad at the movie because why wouldn't he be? I think we can leave it at that. I'm going to move on from that.
Because of course he is.
I don't think we need to discuss that anymore.
No.
It speaks for itself. And it gets even more fun when you move over to Fox News, which has done at least a couple segments on it. Both of them critical. And the first one I saw, which I highlighted in my piece at motherjones.com, is that they did a segment upset that the word God never appears once in the film Noah, which is true. And the Fox News host basically begins a segment by saying it's ridiculous because this is like writing an American history textbook without mentioning the name George Washington. And to his credit, the guest, I think he's a priest or a father, I forget exactly what, to his credit, he does clarify that the movie says creator numerous times, many times, which, of course, means God.
Yeah.
So basically, the whole premise of this idiotic segment was invalidated by the guess off the bat, and yet they still keep going for about 5 minutes.
Well, there are a lot of ways to, there's a lot of ways to say
Fox
God.
News.
Yeah.
Fair point.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many different ways to say God. I mean, the creator certainly counts as one, I would think.
I don't think, I haven't seen the movie. You have?
Yes.
I don't think there's any doubt in the movie who was responsible for the flood, right?
Russell Crowe is staring and screaming at the sky for at least a third of the movie. It's very clear that this is a religious and biblical film.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody going to it will come away with the assumption that, oh, this is secular Hollywood trying to convince me that there's no God. There's a creator, and creator is code for Darwinism. I have no idea.
Yeah, right. Instead of God, they have the creator.
Yeah.
Maybe they should start by reading the first chapter of the book of Genesis. The first chapter in the Bible.
Or one of the earlier pages of the thesaurus.
Right.
I'm curious, like, what does this do for religious films in Hollywood? Because I think you're seeing more and more people embrace religious entertainment, right, on the big screen. And if this moves it forward and shows that you could do just a religious movie on the big screen and have it not be, or have it taken seriously, I guess I should say.
Right. Well, first, of course, money talks.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's making a lot of money does a lot for it and possibly other religious or biblical epics in the future or near future in Hollywood. But having said that, Darren Aronofsky, the director of Noah, has himself called this the least biblical film ever made. And that off the bat was some of the early criticism before people had even seen the movie. Religious groups and some people in the United States were concerned that this was going to essentially be a secularized fairy tale with an environmentalist message, that it might as well not have any grounding in the Bible, which turned out to not be the case at all.
All right. Now, I haven't seen this movie, but I hate it anyway. Because
Tell me why.
No. And I'll tell you, and I'll never go see it because I don't believe the Noah ever existed and there ever was such a flood. I think it's a big fairy tale, like a lot in the Bible. Okay, so there you go. That's my 2 cents.
Well, as long as we're talking about personal beliefs, I'm an atheist, more specifically an anti-theist. Those are my personal non-religious beliefs. But you mentioned that the tale of Noah, not even the movie, but the tale of Noah itself is a fairy tale. It's fiction.
Right.
Well, so is basically everything we see at the movies.
That's
so
what I think.
I'm okay with that.
I had this conversation with my kids because my kids saw the trailer for it, and they actually asked if they could go see it, if we could go see it. And I was kind of like, I mean, my kids can do whatever they want to do, right, in terms of religion. We don't really go to church. Right? We don't go to church at all. But I was telling them, I mean, we could maybe go see that, and, you should view it the same way you view Spider-Man. It's a movie. It's an action movie.
Mm-hmm. Now, I hear your point, but this is presented as more than a fairy tale. This is presented, isn't it, as something that actually happened?
Not quite. No, I mean, it's only presented that way because we know it's based in the Bible, and the Bible itself is presented by its adherents as something that actually happened. But the director himself isn't actually trying to send a religious message. It's inherently a religious content, but there's no agenda to it, I would say.
So are there people who believe in evolution who have been critical of this movie, saying...
Not that I have seen, not in a significant way. When I was writing my piece, I looked for progressive outrage or petty outrage over the movie.
You should have called me.
I should have.
Yeah.
Well, I did. I'll get you on the line next time.
Okay. Now, I am curious. How did they get the animals to march on 2 by 2?
They just do.
It's all animation?
I believe so. CGI, yeah.
Right. I mean, they're not real animals.
I don't believe so.
Well, you saw it.
Except for Russell. Well, these days it's so hard to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my guess is, vast majority was CGI. Now maybe I do want to go see it.
I'd like to see this clip. Did they actually have the animals marching on the ark? And how big was the freaking ark? And how did the lion get along with the lamb on the ark?
Well, I'll answer those questions in descending order.
Okay.
Yes, huge. And they put the animals to sleep, like basically magically, when they're all in the ark. So they're not feasting on each other.
Oh, I see. I thought
Spoiler alert.
I thought maybe they'd have the big cats on the first deck, right? And the giraffes and the elephants like on the, but I mean, you have to separate them, right?
I will say the visual that you see in the trailer of the ark in the storm is kind of cool. Like I could maybe see why. Like I'm kind of into seeing it, believing in none of it. I'm kind of okay with seeing the movie.
Yeah.
Okay. So
plus it's Darren Aronofsky, which I mean, if you've seen his previous works, doing a story from the Bible isn't something that immediately pops to mind. Would be his next step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got maybe you've seen it, maybe you've heard about it. Noah, maybe you're upset about it for one reason or the other. Let's talk about it here on the Bill Press Show this Monday morning. Give us a call, 866-55-PRESS. There are a couple of others that are stirring things up, including the latest film about Donald Rumsfeld, The Unknown Knowns. And tonight is the last night for How I Met Your Mother?
Yes, the long-running CBS sitcom.
All right, all of that coming up with our friend Aswin Suebsaeng from Mother Jones, and your calls welcome again at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 12 minutes now before the top of the hour here Monday morning. We're talking entertainment, sort of, with Aswin Suebsaeng from Mother Jones, motherjones.com. Here's a little refreshingly different kind of thing, of a different nature. Peter, you and I have been down in Asheville.
Yes, sir.
Carolina, where all of our good friends had 880 The Revolution.
Paris of the
We just
South.
saw in the news, Paris of the South, saw in the New York Times yesterday. Remember we went out to see Biltmore, the Vanderbilt property?
Mm-hmm.
The largest privately owned home in the country. It's spectacular. Ever been down there?
Unfortunately,
Worth
no.
a trip. It is incredible. Anyhow, they are celebrating spring now with more than 100,000 blooms in the estate gardens of the Biltmore. This would be the time to make a special trip there and see that to be spectacular. And unlike us in Washington, D.C., where we may not see the cherry blossoms until September, the blooms are out in Asheville. Just want you to know. Yeah, it's warm enough down there. So tell us about, I'm interested in the, well, we have a quick call here, I'm sorry, about, from Noah first, about Noah, from Gil out in Hartford, Wisconsin. Hello, Gil. What's up?
Hi. I just find it odd and hypocritical that Fox News made such an objection to the use of the word creator as a substitution for God. When I argue with my fundamentalist family, the word creation, and we are endowed by our Creator in the Declaration of Independence, proves that we are a nation based on Christian principles and therefore should be a theocracy. So they love the word creator, and the word God doesn't appear in the Constitution or Declaration of Independence, but the word creator does.
Yeah, good point, Gil. Yes, one further little evidence of the hypocrisy of Fox News, which is a point you made earlier, Swin, of course. So tell me about the Rumsfeld. I really want to see the Rumsfeld movie. The Unknown Knowns. How does he come across?
He comes across as, to put it generously, let me put it this way. Have you ever, this is the most generous way I can put it, have you ever seen the movie In the Loop?
Mm-hmm.
Such a good movie.
The Armando Iannucci movie. It's a satire of the Anglo-American relationship during the run-up to the Iraq War, although the word Iraq is never mentioned. There's a part when Malcolm Tucker, played by Peter Capaldi, goes up to the Rumsfeld-esque character at the UN and says, "I've met a lot of psychos in my lifetime, but none quite as boring as you."
So this is Rumsfeld. Boring psycho.
Smirkingly boring, yes.
And that's all he does in the film, right?
It's just him talking to Errol Morris, and Errol Morris cuts in other footage and basically shots of documents and memos that he and his team poured through.
Does Rumsfeld ever apologize for anything? Iraq, Afghanistan?
He shows regret and tears in his eye. No. If by saying mistakes happen or things happen is an apology, then sure, but really, of course, it's not really. I mean, he shows a glimmer of a tear or two in his eye when he's talking about wounded or dead American soldiers in the wars. But no, he comes across in this film, as he does in every interview he's done since, as he did when he was working in the Bush administration, as very confident of the decisions that he was the architect of.
I don't know that there's been enough time. So, who knows? Rumsfeld may never actually own up to the stuff that he had done. I don't know that there's been enough time between him getting out of the administration and this movie. When you look at what Errol Morris did with McNamara and The Fog of War, which was a great documentary. There had been a lot of time between the two, and he had really changed his stance on a lot of things.
I don't think Rumsfeld will ever change his stance.
You're probably right.
But having read Peter Baker's great book on Days of Fire about the relationship between Bush and Cheney, if what Peter writes is true, and I trust him, Donald Rumsfeld was a royal pain in the ass in the Bush administration on many different issues. But I do want to ask you about, so tonight, How I Met Your Mother. Why has it lasted so long? Such a stupid premise for a show.
What a way to lead the interviewee. Well, it's lasted so long, in my opinion, because while also on the surface being just set up as a more traditional sitcom, it does have a lot of, it's very cleverly framed in the way it's directed and written. And it has a an intelligence to it in its examination of friendship, marriage, heartbreak in the big city.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been on the air since 2005, and
Which is a long run.
Yeah, 9 seasons.
Yeah,
and it goes off the air tonight with an hour-long finale on a high note.
Okay.
It's rare that you could find a show that has that kind of staying power, that kind of ratings, and that much sort of critical acclaim, right? I mean, a lot of times you see these goofy situation comedies that last that long, but this is a pretty well-respected show.
Just a footnote, I mentioned to Peter earlier that on the long flight to Hawaii and the long flight back, I watched 5 episodes of Breaking Bad, which I had downloaded.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be one of the greatest TV shows of all time.
So good.
A little bit different than How I Met Your Mother.
Slightly. Slightly.
Yeah. I Met Your Mother in the meth lab.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Hey, Aswin, it's so great to see you. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
See you again soon. It's motherjones.com. I'll be back with a quick parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, do you realize that heart disease kills more Americans every year than all forms of cancer combined? So when you donate to the American Heart Association, you're contributing to life-saving research with every dollar. You can make your donation today through the Pop Money personal payment service. All you do is download the app or go online to popmoney.com. Sign up to send your donation to jessica.gramillion@heart.org. jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Here's the best part. The 95-cent fee is assessed to you, the sender, regardless of how much money you contribute. That means that 100% of your donation goes to support the ongoing research to help save lives across America. No fees are paid by the American Heart Association, getting more bang for your buck. And of course, terms and conditions apply.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, if you want to see what's wrong with politics today, take a look at what happened over the weekend in Las Vegas. It was called the Republican-Jewish Coalition, which is sort of an oxymoron in itself, if you ask me. but it really was a pilgrimage to worship at the shrine of Sheldon Adelson, the owner of the Venetian Casino. One by one, Republican hopefuls, John Kasich, Scott Walker, Chris Christie, Jeb Bush, and others, bowed down before Adelson, kissed his ring, and did everything but vow to make Israel our 51st state. Why were they there? Because Adelson's such a smart political backer? Hell no. The last time, he backed Newt Gingrich for president. Is he such a great role model? Again, hell no. He makes all of his money out of gambling joints in Vegas and Macau. They were there for one reason only, because last time around, Adelson spent $93 million supporting Republican candidates, and so there they were, bowing, groveling, sucking, licking, preening, and begging in support of the almighty dollar. How disgusting. Anybody with any self-respect would not have showed up at all. Have a great day, folks. See you back here again.
This is the Bill Press Show.